this Mr. Beast experiment literally proves everything I've been saying about the truth about winners and losers, like the truth about winning and losing. It literally does. So I'm going to tell you guys about this Mr. Beast social experiment that I was watching. And listen, this is part of a whole big series where I'm updating you on how I just had the most insane 72 hours that just has made that I've become like a different person. Like, it's just, I don't know how to say it. I've actually been kind of excited to do some things. Check out the previous video. There's an intro. I'm not going to get into it. I've explained all of this in there, and we need as much time as possible. I don't want to keep you guys here for absolutely ever, because it's definitely going to be a long one. But anyway, let's get straight into this. So this is a section of it, so please don't get confused by why I'm making this video. If you haven't watched the other videos, that's your business. That's your problem. Go do your due diligence. You know what I mean? Grow up. Anywho, so in this specific social experiment, what Mr. Beast did is he took a guy and a woman, and he stranded them. He's like, survive stranded for like 30 days with your ex and win 250K. So that's how we're going to start. The reason we're starting with this is just because it's the most recent thing I did, because I was watching it as I was getting ready. But there's a lot of stuff we're covering in this series today, like of all over the show, all over the gaff, all over the topics of everything and in between. Now, here's the thing. So what happens at the beginning? Now, I'm going to tell you guys everything to make it easier. Anyway, I said I wasn't going to explain myself, so I'm not going to explain myself. Anyways, so he essentially, what they don't know. So if they get to the end of this 30 days, if they're able to survive and they're like in the forest somewhere, if they're able to survive for 30 days, then what's going to happen is they're going to split this 250K, right? Obviously, this is a lot of people's nightmare, and this is why I absolutely love Mr. Beast, because I feel like he kind of, a lot of the stuff that I watch, that I talk about with you guys, I talk about them because I feel like so many successful like people on social media who don't try and say things with their words, they do things that say more than words can even say by doing stuff like this, or even some of the other stuff I want to talk about to do with social media and stuff, where it's like people poke fun at stuff as if to make a point. I'll give you an example. I was watching a video by like one of these groups of guys here in the UK, and they were doing one of these fake court scenes, but with real like YouTuber scandals. And in this video, they poked fun at a few different topics in the video, and the way that they went about doing it, it was making a point, right? And this is what goes over people's heads, because people are very one-dimensional thinking. So one of the things that they talked about in this particular video is they made fun of like Lunchly, like Mr. Beast's brand, with KSI and Logan Paul, but obviously they're all friends with KSI as well. So, and KSI doesn't care, because again, he knows, like, they know what business they're in, and they know that the best way to make money is to upset people, because people care more to put energy into what they feel offended and angry about or feel prideful about than they do about what's good and wholesome, right? And in this, they talked about, so they'd have to defend like a case, and they'd have to try and defend why that person isn't guilty. So one of them was saying that, mold is good for you, like mold builds character, and blah, 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 which obviously is not true, but they're poking fun at it to make a point. You know what I mean? They also had on their, the parents that lost custody, because they used to post their kids like literally crashing out, and their kids would be on in the videos, like having all these tantrums and stuff, and then they put their kids in the thumbnail, end up losing custody. And so they were poking fun in the video, in the court video, the people that were defending them, saying, you know what, sometimes you just need to make money, and if it means rage baiting your own children and abusing them for content and losing custody, I think that's worth making money for. I think it's worth, like, they're making fun of it. And it's like even how Nicholas Omalana, right? He's another YouTuber whom I love, who's also going to be in the Sidemen charity match. I'm so excited. A lot of these people are going to be in the Sidemen charity match. He ran for mayor of London, and a lot of people were like, oh, he's just making a joke out of politics. It's like, you completely missed the point. He's showing that politics is the joke, because how was he able, right, this is just a YouTuber, to get 5th place in the running for mayor of London? He ran a full-blown campaign, and along the way he was doing things to poke fun at how stupid it is and how easy it is to do these things, and it doesn't have to take somebody who actually deserves to be there to do it. So like, he would say things like in his manifesto, his plan was to tell Boris Johnson to shush. He intentionally wore kids' glasses. when he'd be walking around these rooms with these adults, they're all scoffing at him, but he's like beat most of them in the race, because no one realized that, oh, when the young people actually see somebody they respect, they're actually going to listen to them. And he also had genuine claims of things he thought should be done. But the point is, he didn't, without, rather than doing what I do and using words, he poked fun at something in order to prove how ridiculous it is. You know what I'm saying? So in Mr. B's video, I feel like he does that in a way, but he does that more for his own interests, to try and see what he can get people to do in a kind of a sadistic way. Anyway, so this guy goes onto the show and he's with all his exes. Now, albeit this term ex, I find to be quite interesting anyway, because I feel like when people have like 5, 6, 7 exes, I'm like, are people just falling in love like every 5 minutes? Because that just doesn't feel like it's real. Can I just say, like, and this is what I mean, I feel like everyone's very like loose with a lot of things. But anyway, like everyone's all like, oh yeah, of course, friendship is like, but if you put what if, like, anyway, so he's put these all together. Now obviously, as soon as the guy realizes this is like his worst day, and low-key I felt for him, because the girl he started with, the reason they broke up is because he had cheated, right? And he also, and everybody saw it because they were on one of these dating shows. And so the first thing that happens when they get there is they both have, like, he has his own tent and then the girls have their tent. And obviously the first thing that happens is they all sit around and they all start sharing their stories. They're all talking about, he wrote this song for me and I found out he wrote a song. So he sung for all of them. Some of them he sung the same songs and all this stuff. And meanwhile, he's decided to start building himself a house and he's going getting wood and all this. And I truly believe it's because he was so distressed. He needed something to distract his mind, and he needed to find something like a project that was going to take him like 30 days to get him through like whatever he was going to endure, because he was going to endure to the end, because it's worth at least the money. Anyway, this is, like I said, a story of winners and losers. Okay, so how the show ended is not how I wanted it to end. I felt like everybody was a loser at the end of the day, other than maybe one girl, right? I felt like everybody was kind of behaved as losers and displayed all the behaviors I've been telling you people about. So the girlies are all doing this, and they basically make a plan. They're like, we're basically going to form this group where they each had a secret. The girl's secret is at the end, they get to steal all the money if they want. And his secret was that every 5 days he gets to take out any of the girls he wants to. So there was obviously going to be one left at the end, and then he didn't know that, whatever. So it was everybody's choice. And this is what I like about Mr. Beast versus Hollywood productions and all that. He lets things play out as they do, and he really tries to do that. And that's something that I actually hate about Hollywood. It's so overly produced. They have so much pride thinking they know what's going to be good, that like nothing we're seeing is real. It's just what we think. And I want to see something real. I feel like there's something strong in my own generation. Like, we don't want to be involved in things where, like, I don't want to see another advert with so and so. I want to know something real. I want to see something real. You know what I mean? Not something that was made to try and whatever. But anywho, so the girlies are having all these chats, and they decide, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to aim for this girl to win, the one who's most recently with him, and she's going to take all the money. And I think they agreed to split, but again, I just don't trust those kinds of things. I would never trust it. I would probably agree to it. This is why I would never do any of these shows, by the way, because ain't no way I'm airing out my business with somebody else. I can only control myself. That's why I make my videos by myself. You don't really see people on my channel. I don't know how other people are going to behave. So you think I'm going to go on a show here and then have Mr. Beast's team editing it to then send out to the jury the sheeple? You must be crazy. And I don't know how this person's going to act. I can't afford that for my own reputation. So I just be here with my white wall talking about my own things the way I want to. But yeah, so that was their plan. And it was a solid plan. I was like, hey, you know what? That's funny. That's quite a funny take. And I was like, let's see what happens. Because 30 days. And also, and I knew this immediately was going to happen, that the girls were all trying to pretend like that they weren't having as many feelings as they were really having. So they're all actually here like, yeah, we're going to come up against him. He's not going to know what hit him, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, they were all having different complex feelings that they were trying to pretend they weren't having. And this was going to be their downfall. His downfall was that he assumed he understood the game he didn't understand, because he didn't know what the girl's secret was. And he didn't bother to think into it. This is both things exactly what I would expect from men and women. The girlies are out here trying to like think that they understand their feelings more than they actually do. And the guy is completely unaware about how truly devious we are, and is not willing to think deeply enough into small details that are going to become very fatal later on, because he didn't know what their secret was, and their secret was huge. So he thinks he can just have all this energy with the girls. He didn't think about what their secret was, even though he knew they had one. He knew they had one, right? So I knew that was going to be his failing, because then he thought he had more power than he actually had. And this is what I'm saying. Classico. All of it is classic, what I would expect. That's why I think this world is boring. Everybody's so predictable. And I actually thought both sides would do better. I was so disappointed. It's actually the video I was the most disappointed in that I watched of Mr. Beast and his social experiments. So they, so he, the days start going on, and he starts talking to this girl. Her name's Ashley, right? So him and, what's his name? Damn, I can't remember. He starts talking to this girl, Ashley, and that's the one who he used to be with. And the girls are obviously trying to like egg him on. But the thing is with Ashley is she can't handle playing the game because her feelings are getting in the way. So they're saying she's supposed to be basically making it seem like she's so in love with him and she wants to just, you know, make amends and come out from this thing. And he's also actually trying to make amends, because I think he does feel an element of guilt, but he also is not really understanding how detrimental what he did is. Because I think we all have a tendency. Their biggest gripe was he wanted her to say the phrase that like, my wrongdoings are equal to your wrongdoings, or something like that, which no one gets to decide that. And this is again where there was a lot of pride in the room, and pride becomes before a fall, right? And she wasn't prepared to say that, because I feel like she didn't feel that way. And it's not to say that she or he was right or wrong, but neither of them were hearing each other out. And like, this is why I hate being around couples, by the way. I hate being around couples, because I'm like, no one ever seems to be actually trying to hear anybody actually out. People just seem to be defending themselves, or assuming they understand, or thinking the other person's wrong, not actually hearing. I don't think he understood the gravity of how she was feeling, because I think had he done that, she would have been more appreciative. And I think she still did actually genuinely have feelings. But then because he was putting up this barrier of like, no, this is what I've decided, and it's only this, and it's only this, and I'm going to assert my dominance, that was the barrier why they couldn't get through. They couldn't get through to each other, and it was frustrating to watch, right? And for me, it was frustrating because no one was playing a good game. I don't care what really happens in a lot of this, because I know that we're all just going to create chaos anyway. I'm like, at least play a good game. Like, at least play a good game. So she's now fumbling the bag herself, because the girls are all egging her on, like, you need to like this, you need to, you know, because she's supposed to be all like going and having little chats to make us feel like we've made progress. So I'm saying, I'm not even playing these kinds of games, but I can tell you how to play these games better. So when I see people playing such poor games, it's so boring, and it makes me feel like this is why I don't like to be around people, because it's just like, people are just not even like, you're not even good at committing to what you're doing, right? If you're going to be this kind of person, at least do it well, you know? So she's supposed to be all like, and the other girls are intention, and the other girls, they really played their character well, because it became quite ironic at the end of it. And I was explaining why it became ironic. The other girls were playing their characters kind of well. So like every 5 days, one of them would choose to like lash into him on purpose. So then obviously he'd smash their heart, they'd be out. With the viewpoint, this girl would stay and can't get to the end. Thing is, she couldn't even play her part of the team in her camp, because she kept getting confused about her feelings. She couldn't tell it. I'm like, just the easiest thing to do in the art of manipulation is tell people what they want to hear. And I'm like, the fact that people struggle so hard to even be able to do that, it shows how much pride you have. Because sometimes in life, it's just the game. Sometimes when I get bored of conversations with people where I can see that I'm at a brick wall, am I going to sit here for another 2 hours? Am I going to have to sit here while you try and defend yourself when there's all the evidence proving you're in the wrong right now? No, I'm not. It's a waste of my time, and you're not even going to be in my life anyway. Because that was my also thing. So it seems like you actually want to be with him then, because you're all grouping up there over there. And the other girls, I think, genuinely were not interested. I think she genuinely was still. So then she was actually battling, and this is where she started to not play a good game. She was actually battling between the fact that, yes, she had all this stuff that she felt, this game she wanted to play, and obviously everyone wants to get their revenge. But then on the other side, she also couldn't commit to it because she had all these feelings, and so I'm like, so you see that doesn't work. You can't be trying to do two different things, two different goals that contradict each other. And that's all we do as humans. We set ourselves all these goals, but the goals actually contradict each other. And God was always humbling me about that. He's always like, you want to do this, but you want to do that. It's like when I made a whole video with you guys about what happens if we pray, our prayers are contradictory to God. What is he supposed to do? And I did answer what he will do in that video, and you have to go and watch that to find out. But anyway, so that was starting to annoy me from the beginning, because I'm like, girl, it's 30 days. Like, this is when I'm like, people are weak. People are weak ass. Do you know how Easy. I'll be having fun. I'll be strategizing. I'll probably be up in the middle of the night strategizing whatever nonsense. I'm like, because one day he was like, I'm going to try and make things good with the girls. He woke up and cooked everybody breakfast. And some of them were still giving him a hard time. I was like, you're playing this so wrong. I would have been the one to have woken up and making breakfast. Be like, after our conversation last night at the fire pit, I was just really thinking about what you said. And maybe I'm not understanding things from your perspective. And honestly, if you hadn't done what you did, I actually really did want to stay with you. Something like that, you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Sell it, but she couldn't. Because then they got an opportunity for him to take one of the girls and go and stay in this really nice cabin with all these nice things in it. And then he was going to go with her. And again, she was just sitting there with a stank face. She was just annoyed the whole time. And I was just like, girl, you are not playing a good game. Do you think you're helping anything? Because then what ended up happening is, at the beginning, it almost seemed like she was the one that was definitely going to make it to the end in his head. But as time was going on, even though the other girls were intentionally self-sabotaging, she was self-sabotaging and he was more ready to get rid of her. Because there was other girls, like one of the other girls, she was more tolerable to be around because she wasn't trying. And this is how this other girl was backfiring. The other girls were trying to do their best and they're getting chipped off one by one, right? And then, so he was like, there was the last two girls left and they're obviously trying to get him to get rid of, Ashley. And he was going to pick the other girl. And he was going to pick the other girl because he's like, hey, I'll just ride out 10 days with her. She's not really bothering me. Like, I will split the money and whatever, because he still doesn't know the secret, right? He doesn't know the secret. And so from his standpoint, that made the most sense. And she didn't seem to see that. She didn't seem to see that part of it. And she also didn't seem to see the fact that even if they have that power only comes into play on the last day. So I like about how Mr. Beast does his experiments, because all the variables are very interesting. So anyway, the other girl starts to get annoyed at Ashley, because she's like, girl, what the hell? Like, I don't know that we're on the same team, because you're not even like, just go and say what he wants you to say. Like, he's literally told you what he wants you to say that will bring you to the last day, and you just can't say it. Girl, and especially because there's money on the line. Like, that's what I'm saying. People act like, oh, we're so poor, we're so this, oh, we wish there would be help. But you're a loser, because you won't even be prepared to do what it takes. Not even in a situation as simple as this. Lie a little bit. The public probably would be on your side, serves him right or whatever. Like, this is what I'm saying. People are getting opportunities to do these things. And I'm like, how are you fumbling that? But she couldn't do it. So she does all of this, and then the two girls argued, and the girl, Ashley, was like, maybe I should go and say something to him. Like, it would be a really bad idea for you to get rid of me, as if to suggest that what their power could be. And the other girl was like, I think that's a really bad idea, which it is. Why would you give him any ounce of an idea of what the thing is, especially when the flipping dingus hasn't even been thinking about it? He's not even thought that deeply into that detail, because he's probably thinking, I'll deal with that when I get there, which again, all exactly what I'll expect, right, from everybody. So anyway, she goes, so they talk, her and the last girl, and the last girl, she's like, no, you can't do that. Like, and she was like getting really worried. Homegirl Ashley goes and does it anyway. So at this point, I'm like, Ashley, you've just officially become a hypocrite. You've been spending the last 30 days on your high horse of self-righteousness, talking about and how what he did to me and like what he did. And people would have been rooting for you at the beginning. I didn't hear his side of the story yet, but I definitely could see why she was so upset. But now you're being arguably just as selfish, because not only are you willing to fall, because the other girl was saying, the thing is, what you don't understand is, if he finds out our secret, he can just leave. He'll just leave because he's got no reason to stay, because he knows he's going to lose all the money anyway. So, or it's likely that he'll lose all the money anyway. So then Ashley, right, selfish woman now, because now she's being selfish. I'm saying, people get in their feelings. You want to sit in your house of self-righteousness. You want to judge him. And now you're making what he said actually sound more true as well, by the way, which I'm not agreeing with him either, because the way he was going around talking to the girls, especially with him not knowing their secret power, the way he was being so hard and dominant about his thoughts and feelings and whatever. But I will give it to him that he did try to mend some fences, and they did have a few good couple days of people doing stuff. But then a lot of times it would usually be Ashley who would ruin it. So again, you want to make him the villain, but right now you're playing, and this is what I always notice in any types of competitions with other humans. people will be so desperate for whatever the prize is, yeah? Because you guys, I don't even think 250K is nothing in 2026, mate. That 250K is not worth going on TV and embarrassing myself like this. Absolutely not. Especially when I'm going to get taxed and stuff anyway and all that. Anyway, well, it's not even 250 because I'm only going to get 125. So I've gone in what? Anyway, so she's now being selfish. So she's now become a hypocrite, but she can't see it because she's all up in her feelings. And she still feels like she's in the right, and she's decided she's in the right, because that's what people do. They decide they're in the right, and because they're hurt, it's like as soon as people are hurt, they decide, you might have your opinion, you might have your perspective, but no, but I'm hurt though. I'm hurt. Me hurt. I'm hurt. And like that's another thing I find about people to be really super annoying, because it's like, yeah, guess what? We all are. We've all been hurt. We've all hurt. We've all, like, who are you? Why is your hurt so important more than anybody else's? That's why I think people love selfishly. And this is exactly what we're seeing play itself out in literal 4K. So she goes and says what she says to him, selfishly, which goes against the other girl, which again, this is what I'm saying. All these female friendships, and it's all female friendships until a man's involved. This is what I'm saying. When I say stuff, yeah, it always comes with, oh, well, you're just like, if you've had all these situations so many times, maybe you're the problem. Maybe not all the time. Maybe not. Maybe I've been in these kinds of situations, right? Because this poor other girl, yeah, she's the one who I was rooting for in the end of everybody, because she then was like, she first of all was willing to trust the last girl, which is a big deal in my opinion, to actually get the money and I guess split it with the other girls. So I respected her for actually showing a sense of loyalty and trust in the situation. And the only loyalty and trust happening in that whole scenario was all the girls who came before, trusting that the last girl would do what she needed to do and execute her part of the mission. And they were making it easier intentionally, like I said, picking fights with him, having all these behaviors. You know what I'm saying? Saying stuff like, well, I don't want to be in the house with you anyway, to be honest. And I know you're not taking me to the end, so I don't care. You can just smash my heart. Like, you know what I mean? And yeah, so she couldn't do it. She couldn't do it, basically. She was behaving selfish. She's all like in her feelings and all this stuff. And then the other girl was like, right, I don't have a teammate anymore. I need to strike while the iron is hot. So she goes and has a conversation with him. And she's just like, look, I'm just going to say, this is what I'm saying. In actually doing what she was doing and trying to come across as like the high and mighty, these are the kind of people I can't stand to be around. I never want to have to ever speak to in my life. And I actually won't be. She has to go to the guy and early before he's had enough time to think about what could really happen or leave, because that's the first thing he says, like she told Ashley. If he finds out the secret, he's going to leave, right? So she goes and says to the other girl goes and says to him like, oh, by the way, we did have a plan as girls, like to try and see if there was a way that we could take advantage of this and whatever and team together. But as you can see, Ashley's just not working for anyone. Like, she's 1 minute telling him that she's serious, and he was actually trying to seriously mend fences, I believe. But then he was also being manipulative as well. And that's the thing. That's not like you have to choose the side you're sitting on, because if you just sit in the middle, this is where the lukewarmness comes. You can't be hot and cold at the same time, right? So they have a little conversation as if to be like, he's like, look, she's like, you might as well just save me and not save her, kind of thing, because she just was honest, which again, this is where a lot of times honesty works out, because I think he could see like, oh, well, at least she's telling me the truth. And also she really hasn't been causing me any problems. So it was her best. She was honest, playing a good strategy there by being like, I would really appreciate if you let me be the last girl here. I'd really appreciate if you let me be the last girl here, because I don't even trust her, and I honestly don't even know what's going to happen. But like, if there's two of us, like, he has to get rid of somebody anyway. So if he's going to stay in the game, he may as well keep her, which is true. Now, he did consider the idea of leaving, and realistically at that point he should have, but he obviously didn't think very much into it, which again, not surprising. Didn't really think about it, didn't think into it, went back to building his flipping house, which was very nice, by the way. I'm not trying to knock the house. I'm just saying, like, in all of that, we needed to be doing deeper thinking. And this is, again, one of these things where it's tale as old as time. So anyways, in the end of it all, Ashley never manages to just be able to say what he wants her to say. She's like, oh, no, I can't do it. Honestly, it's fine. I'll just go. So it's like, your pride is of that level. You can't just say the words. Like, you're going to come off of this. You're going to be seen by millions. Like, how many? Let me see if I can see how many. 100 million views. 100 million views. This video went up to March 7th this year. 100 million people are going to watch you lose out on 125,000 that you just got. You already made it to the end, all because of your pride. This is what I mean, guys, when I'm saying about pride and humility. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what it is. Even him, right? We're women. If he had actually just like taken his guard down like significantly, and he'd actually, if they could have, it could have been like the Clash of the Titans, and she would have taken the W, right? If she knew, because if she had actually played up to the, oh my gosh, I want to be in love, enough to actually convince him that she was serious, she probably could convince him, like, you know, at least at the very minimum, we've been able to get through this 30 days and like patch things up, and we can both walk away with some money. That's what her angle should have been. And his angle, right, should have been to humble himself, because he, again, doesn't know what pieces are in the game that he doesn't know about, right? And so in Ashley's perfect world, they all end up all lovey-dovey. Because if I was her, I would have been doing lovey-doveys when they're all in the cabin. It's nice to get some time alone, you know, and all of this. And the girls are having to really, like, help her. And if I was him, rather than always just keeping a chip on your shoulder, like, just take some accountability, mate. Sometimes you really hurt somebody more than you realize. And just because you didn't think it was that big of a deal, or you felt justified, doesn't mean that that person doesn't reserve the right to be acknowledged. And it also doesn't mean that that person is completely right either. But it's also like, if you need to apologize, you need to take the time specifically to apologize and acknowledge what you did, separate from then also trying to remind the other person. Because I feel like that's how a lot of relationships go, like of all types of relationships, where people are like, oh, I'll apologize for what I did, but we're going to talk about mine. I'm going to apologize for like 2 minutes, and then I'm going to spend the next 2 hours telling you about every single thing you've done wrong. It's like, no. If you've got 2 hours, you spend 1 hour discussing your side and your apology and everything, and you make sure that person feels understood, and then you will understand them as well. And if anything, you try to understand them first, right? So he didn't do that either. So he was shooting himself in the foot, like I said. So everybody was just in pride. Anyway, long story short, he does smash Ashley's heart, so she goes home with nothing. Now, this is the bit where it got interesting. The other girl who was there, because he messed up, because the other girl, she was like, you know, as a woman of God, and this is what I was like, how is God coming to this? It always happens that way, doesn't it? God is just, he's literally the main character, and yet he gets no respect. That's crazy work, isn't it? Again, it's the world and it's pride. Oh, no, God, we hate God, but then God's always there somehow, some way. Jesus, God, he's always there. He's always being brought up. As soon as there's something bad happening, oh, but God, how would God allow this? How would God allow that? But when things are good, you don't give him the glory, do you? No, you don't. So anyway, the other girl, yeah, she, so she had the opportunity, she ends up being him and her at the end. Now, the reason he messed up, and this is again where Ashley was actually right. She said the thing about him is he's a great manipulator, which he was and which he did. And up until this point, he hadn't done anything manipulative. He had just been true to himself. He was building his flipping thing, distracting himself and whatever. And then he even built the girls a swing because they was like trying to like appease them, which I thought was good. But then the problem was when he then decided to be manipulative, because he was like, oh, I know that so-and-so, she's like believes in God, because I remember her saying that. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. Bad move. Manipulation, right? So he goes to her, he's like, can I get you to swear on the Bible that you're not going to like steal if you have the opportunity or something? No. Can I get you to swear on the, it wasn't about not stealing because he didn't know what the thing was, but he got her to swear about something. And she was like, that was very manipulative of him to do that because he knows that I'm serious about my faith and he's taking advantage of that about me. I've also had people do that with me, by the way. Like a lot of the stuff I talk about, I've experienced with both men and women. That's why I believe it when I see it, because I'm like, oh yeah, I've been there. Like where people try to manipulate you with your faith. And that's one thing I've dealt with a lot, where people are like, that's not very Christian-like of you, or that's not very godly, or what, doesn't the Bible say this, and doesn't the Bible... But again, it's always very calculated how people use the Bible and how it always seems to apply to others and never to you, the person saying it. So she did, because whatever he said, she could genuinely swear on it, whatever it was. He's like, you're genuinely telling me that you're no longer in alliance with her, I think. And she was, that was true. But then now she knew that he was willing to do that. And that's where he lost the money for sure. Because had she might have felt convicted, right, by God to like, okay, he honored his thing. We managed to like stay the last however many days together. I'm going to do what I feel like would be the right thing. And after everything, I feel like he should take some money home and like maybe split, right? But that moment he did that and he went back into his manipulative tactics, not only did he lose the money, but he also then proved to everybody that he still is the same manipulative individual that he is, which again isn't helping him. Because I'm thinking, at the bare minimum, what you could get out of this show is to, because since they already had this whole situation happen publicly, which means no one's ever going to forget because we live in an unforgiving world, the very bare minimum thing he could have got out of this is show himself to be a changed man for 30 days. Even if the girls stayed to hate him, even if he did whatever, if he showed himself to be a changed man and gave people even the question, like, maybe he's actually changed, even if people didn't believe it, but they left on that question, that would have worked in his favor. But he just couldn't, again, loser behavior, couldn't do it, fell back into old habits or maybe same habits. But that's what I think a lot of people, it's not that they've ever changed, they've got better, they've just realized that the tactics that they've used they can't get away with in the same way, so they just go and find other scumbag tactics to use instead. So they get to the last thing, it's day 25. Jimmy's like, okay, so now the other girl who wasn't Ashley is definitely getting the money, which I was like, well, that's the best outcome we could have had here. And so now it was her. He now had a heart to be smashed. Like, these were actual like glass hearts they had, and they were actually smashing them like with a hammer. And I love how dramatic Mr. Beast is. He's so dramatic with things, and it actually is good because it's like he's making people do this in people's faces, and it's making people actually face up to like who they really are. Like, are you really going to stand before somebody you called a friend or somebody you called this? Somebody who like, oh, I love you so much. Oh, I know I can trust in you yesterday. And you're going to stand there and smash their heart in front of them knowing they're going home with zero just so that you could go home with whatever. I love seeing it. So she's left and Jimmy says to her, here's the hammer. He can't obviously break your heart anyway. You got the last 5 days to decide if you're going to smash his heart or not, in which case I thought she would at least hear him out. And then it cuts to her saying, because he said, oh, but before we finish this ceremony, I want to do something. So this is before he'd even smashed either of the girls' hearts. So let's backtrack slightly. He says he's written a letter for the girls. And in this letter, it's all Bible verses. And I was like, this is where the mental capacity is just not at the same level, right? In these types of areas. This is why when I say to you guys all the time that I'm like, I don't think men are that intelligent, like overall in certain ways. These are the types of things I'm talking about. Because all he had to do was, again, leave her with the question, maybe she would have, she they've got 5 days. He doesn't know what's going to happen, right? Then they still have 5 days. But he decides then he's going to bring out the Bible and he's talking about, and God is going to judge us. Even said how we use our free will. I was like, I swear I can't get away from this conversation. Like, everywhere I turn, exactly what I'm talking about is happening, right? So he's reading all these Bible verses and he's all doing this. And you could see on her face, that was the moment she was like, yeah, and she smashed his heart immediately. Had he not done that, she might have entertained a conversation. She might have given it a couple of days. Because either way, she's the only one who had anything. So he actually had an opportunity, potentially for another 5 days, to get himself at least some money at the bare minimum. Again, a story arc where he looks better to the public. But instead, his final note was a manipulative one, and at that with the Bible, which again is scumbaggery, like to take people's faith and beliefs. I hate when people are like, even like in the Sidemen videos, which is where we're going to go next. Like one of the things I really respect about them is they have a lot of rules about how, like, we're not in games and stuff, we're not going to swear on like people's parents, we're not going to swear on like Allah or God, because it's unfair to put somebody's like religious beliefs on the line. Like in a game, it's just unfair, especially when they're games that include lying. And that's what I love about so much of the stuff those guys do. So for him to be so comfortable with just throwing that out there, not only does that so manipulative, but it actually shows such a disrespect for her belief system. And again, whether people agree with her belief system or not, he's again gone and shown that to 100 million people and given them the fact that, letting them know, hey, here's my behavior still March 7th, 2026. I ain't changed. And those are the people that get me, where I'm like, it's 2026 and you haven't changed. You have had every single New Year's resolution other than the ones that mattered the most. Smashed his heart. And she ends up taking all the money, and that's that. But then what was he going to do and what was Ashley going to do? And now they look like idiots. And so I'm saying, this is what I mean when I'm saying about the losing and the losing mentality and how, like, the difference between winners and losers. Like, if you're going to be a loser, if Ashley wanted to really be the villain here against him and really get her revenge, fully send it, do it, and do it well. Otherwise, you're just going to take an L. And that's the problem with people who are losers in life, is most people are not willing to go as hard as they need to actually win in life, like a lot of these people we complained about, these billionaires, these mega church leaders and all of that. But then you're not willing to fully send anything. You're not willing to fully send doing good, and you're not willing to fully send doing bad. And ironically, the girl who was left was the girl who was more on the winning side, because she said she was smashing the heart for Ashley, as in she was still heartbroken for her, but she's still taking the money. And I thought, if anybody won there, it was her. And if anybody has the most justifiable things, she fully sent her win. At the moment she realized the person she was on the team with, she didn't all do oh, we're going to be girlies to the end, no matter what, just to go home with nothing and have been betrayed anyways. Nah, that would have been such an L to take. So a lot of people wouldn't do that because they'd rather be like broke, but in the idea of friendship that doesn't really exist, and then still complain about the state of their life the next day anyway. So she really won. And like I said, the other two, they both lost, and they were the ones who started out, and they were the ones who everybody was rooting to get to the end for. So they actually could have, if they could have even put their things aside, or even if either of them could have humbled themselves and they actually were like genuine feelings from both of them, they could have had a whole wholesome little story arc. Because I literally watched the episode before this. I wasn't going to watch any of the relationship ones, because I was like, this is going to annoy me to another degree. But Mr. Beast also put these other two exes together but they were in like a house and they were chained, and the chains started at like 60 feet distance, and by the end it was like 5 feet or whatever. They had the whole story arc from like the beginning being, and again, it was a 250 thing. If they make it to the end, they split it. But if one of you leaves, the money's gone, right? And so they had a whole story arc. I thought genuinely they were just going to like endure it and get through and then just both take their money. Bro, they all fell in love all over again. They both left with like the money. Mr. Beast gave them both Teslas. He was all like, I have a secret I never told you. Because she broke up with him because she didn't feel like she always felt like she always had to compromise things for what he wanted, and she just wanted him to understand that. And in the house, he was reading a book about like how to understand how women are behaving, and I was like, bravo for, rather than just getting annoyed, actually trying to understand the person you're trying to get to. And like, it's crazy that I'm the one saying this and I'm not the one who's trying to run 100 miles at these things. That's the thing that's crazy. And it's because I understand these things why I'm not trying to run 100 miles at them, because I realize what a horror show we're living in. So they started out as enemies. They started out arguing about the same things. They could barely stand to be 60 feet apart from each other. At the end, he's all like, I'm going to take her on a date in here. Ask Jimmy, and can I take you on a date when we get back on the outside? They did a lie detector test because Jimmy's diabolical, right? After they've all had this date, Jimmy's like, oh, by the way, guys, here you go. Here's like a necklace, and here's a key. And for the last 5 days, for the last 24 hours or 5 days, right after they've had this lovely dinner, they then do a lie detector test. So he asks all the most heinous questions, because Jimmy basically took all the things that they'd been saying privately and chose questions for them to ask each other. And it's like, anyway, just before that, he had given them both a key, and he was like, here's what's going to be different for the last 5 days. If either of you like takes the key and uses your key, you can unlock yourself. And he went as far as to put the keys in like wedding ring boxes. I was like, Jimmy, I was like, you are sickeningly so good at this. And I'm so grateful he does it so people can actually wake the freak up. Anyway, so they both have it, and they're not trying to do that because they're all now all back lovey-doveys and they're all like making it work. And they're like, well, because they were together for 4 years, they haven't been together for 3 years. And he was like, well, I never really fell out of love with you. And it was really hard for me to watch. I'm not gonna lie, 'cause I was like, ugh. But I was like, good for you guys. Like, and especially like on live television. Wow, well, not live television, but on Mr. Beast's channel, might as well be live television. I'm sure his channel gets more views than live television at this point. And yeah, so they aired out their differences. They figured things out. They were able to hear each other out and everything. And then everybody was happy. And then it was got all wholesome. And then he had told her that he had a secret that he was going to let her know on the day before the last day that they were going to leave. And they were having all this distrust in each other. And like, it's so funny how this works, isn't it? Like in relationships, this distrust and risk element of it all. And so then she was like, Mr. Beast was like, so before, now it's our last 24 hours, where again, and the person who unlocks the key, I never mentioned what the key does. The key means that if you can uncuff yourself, and if you're the first one to do it, you take all the money and both the Teslas. So you get not your 150K, you get the 250K and both Teslas. right? So this is insane. And he kept talking about how he thinks he should take the key. And a lot of the insecurities were coming from things the other person was saying and not understanding how it was coming across. Because like he said he might use the key, which was making her not want to say her feelings and whatever. But then because of what she was saying about, because he asked a valid question, she said, how could you say that my dream life would be with you if when I was with you, you didn't have your dream life? Valid question, like both valid questions. But is anybody hearing anybody? No. Like this is what I mean when I say I'm so sick and tired of like sitting there and watching all of us in all various types of relationships just not communicating. This is why I can't work in an office setting. I can't work around people. I can't work with anyone, and I don't want to be around anyone because I can't be bothered to even have to witness this stuff. Anyway, day 29, it all came back together because his secret was he had already bought an engagement ring and he was going to propose to her under the waterfall on a holiday that they had booked to go with her family. And then she broke up with him. And he'd been planning this for 8 months. This is what I'm saying. Anyways, they left, they split the money, they didn't steal, they're all lovey-dovey. The first thing they did when they left was all kissing each other. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is what even these two potentially could have had. But no, we can't do these things as humans. We don't, because the good things to do are tough. The winning things to do are tough. It's tough to do them. It's tough to hear somebody else's opinion that you don't agree with or whatever. It's a lot of work. It's supposed to be, because you know why? We're not all the same. We're all equal. We're all unique. We're all unique. And so that's supposed to be the interest of it. I feel like that's the fun of having a relationship with God. It's not easy, but it's so much fun to get to know, to spend time around, to see how he does this, why he does that. It's a lot of fun. It's really nice. And so it just makes me sad when I see all this stuff, because I'm like, oh my gosh, guys, we're right there. We're right there. And we just couldn't do it. We just couldn't execute the mission. We just couldn't. And that's what I'm saying. These guys were the losers. They left with nothing. They didn't leave with love. They didn't leave with repairing their own image. They didn't leave with friendship. They didn't leave with nothing. They left with all else. Both of them. These two who started out. He still looks like the bad guy. He didn't even leave with some money. He, you know what I mean? He furthered and reminded people that he is the person he was before. And he also, once again, showed that the weaknesses that he had, he was still unaware. Because that's the other thing. That's what I was saying to you guys about self-awareness. You have to be aware of your own weaknesses, and you have to be aware of your weaknesses based on all the factors involved. Where you grew up, what you grew up around, where you come from, your ethnicity, you have to be aware of how those things are going to work as strengths and weaknesses for you. Because if you don't, you're not going to get what you want in this life, because you're not going to see what you're doing wrong. Do you see what I'm saying? And so that's basically where all of that is for this video. In the next video, I think I'm going to continue on this series. This whole series is going to be linked, yada, yada, yada. And watch the intro if you want to know why we even did this. Because I just feel like everywhere I turn, it's like everything I've been saying, you can literally just look out your own window. You can literally go to your own workplace. You can literally go to the freaking grocery store. You can literally go to your own families. You can literally go to your own communities and see exactly what I'm talking about. So how am I the one who's been considered wrong all this time? Is something that baffles me. But anyway, on the note of that, and on the note of what I was saying about winning, let's head over to the next video where I'm going to talk to you guys about the Sidemen charity match, because I need you to hear me out. I know you don't care about it, but I'm going to tell you why you need to care, because there's a lot of things about why these people have won, despite the fact that a lot of people thought they were just dumb to do videos. A lot of people still think they're dumb because they're all in their near 40s doing this. But then it's like, but why are they where they are and you're not? And I'm going to explain, because you guys know, the Sidemen's about to be my entire life until the actual match. Yesterday was the draft for it. And even just seeing them bringing in players from all over the world, like stream people, a lot of people seeing all the things they're doing where no one respected them before, but now they're where they are. There's a reason why we consistently as humans want things and see people having things and we feel like they don't deserve it, and that's because we don't know what it takes to get there. And when we see what it is, when we see people there, we still think that somehow we know better when they're the ones who are there. So And again, those guys have everything you can want in life in every aspect. That's why I love watching them, because I'm like, they've hit the jackpot in every area of their life. Every single area, they've hit the jackpot. And the reason why they are where they are is because they are a solid friendship group. They are a solid friendship group, and they have been for 10 years, and they've been well, more than actually. They've been able to rely on each other, and they know that they're reliable. They know their own strengths and weaknesses. They accept each other for who they are, and they pull their weight. That's why they are where they are. And a lot of other people will try to do absolutely everything other than being a good team member. So that's what we're going to be talking about in the next video, because if life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. Like I said, check out the rest of the series. Watch it all in context. And I'll see you in my next one.